Let's Hang Out podcast, episode number 10. I'm in one of my favorite places. I'm in beautiful downtown Culpeper at one of my favorite restaurants, Grassroots. And with all of my favorite people, we have got a very, very passionate conversation and topic today, talking about business and nonprofit and how we all work together. So I'm going to introduce, starting on Cindy Hedges, but everybody gets to introduce themselves because nobody introduces yourself better than yourself.
Wow. Okay. Well, I am Cindy Hedges. I'm the Executive Director for SAFE, Services to Abused Families. We have been serving 5 counties, Culpeper, Madison, Orange, Rappahannock, and Fauquier for 41 years now. I have been on the board of SAFE and now the Executive Director for going on 3 years.
I know, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little bit of backstory on how Cindy and I met and how we became on the board of SAFE, but that's a little bit later on. Jamie, please.
Hi, I'm Jamie Clancy. I'm the board chair for Services to Abused Families. And I've been a board member probably for 6 years now. And I don't foresee any end to that. I'm very passionate about what SAFE does, and I think it's an asset to the community. And I'm so thankful to be here today. Thanks, Kylie, for putting this together so we can support SAFE.
Oh, you're welcome. And why don't you tell us what else you do? I think it's important.
I'm also a member of the Culpeper Town Council. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm a coordinator for Culpeper Youth.
That is an amazing, clearly we can see where your head's at, and so I love it.
Thank you.
Jeff, you're next.
Hi, I'm Jeff Say, President and CEO of the Culpeper Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce has been in Culpeper since 1915. We have a membership of more than 430 businesses and nonprofits, and I like to consider myself Culpeper's biggest cheerleader. Our goal is to promote economic development in Culpeper and help our businesses and nonprofits thrive and find success, especially during this trying time.
I am I really searched hard for this one, but it was so easy to put all of the faces together on this episode, which was who's passionate about business, nonprofits, searching out to the community, and what's going to work for how we can actually get this message through. So I sit on the board of SAFE. I'm a chamber member. And I think it's just important to kind of get a little bit of a message out there. Maybe, Jeff, let's talk about what the chamber is about. I have got a global presence. So the listeners out there, maybe they don't even know what a chamber is, but tell us what the Chamber of Commerce does.
So the Chamber of Commerce, we too are a nonprofit. We're a 501c6. And I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. They're like, oh, you're part of the government. And I'm like, no, we're not. We are a nonprofit. But we are a 501c6 that we work to help market our local businesses and our nonprofits to help economic development in Culpeper. And we're really about making connections because it's all about those relationships that you build within the community. And we know that so well here in Culpeper that you tend to think everybody knows everybody, but
True.
There's a lot of folks that they'll call up and will say, oh, well, I'm looking for this plumber, or I'm looking for this nonprofit, or I have an interest in trying to donate to the food closet, but I don't know who to contact. That's where we come in, and we're able to help make those connections. We're able to help also those businesses be able to find the right nonprofit when they're trying to find something that they want to donate to, whether it's at the end of the year or if it's just they have an idea and they're like, hey, I want to help out. Who do I call? And we'll say, call Cindy, call Jamie at Culpeper Youth. Or, there's a great options program here in town, and we'll be able to help you find volunteers to be able to help with your events. Or if you're looking to find something that is just the right fit, that's where we come into play.
I think that's really super insightful, number one, where a lot of people that do know what the chamber is, they don't think about that aspect of the chamber. It's like you are a community, you've got your tentacles and all of the community aspects. So where somebody might not know necessarily about SAFE or Jamie, then if you listen to what their goals are or what what they might be looking for, whatever, if it's an event, then you can say, hey, listen, this is who you might be able to partner up with.
Absolutely. We have folks all the time come and say, hey, we want to volunteer. Where can we volunteer? What nonprofit has an event coming on? And For example, when all of this COVID stuff was going on and people were trying to, we hate using this word, but it was the word of 2020 was pivot.
Yeah.
And everybody's pivoting and they're trying to find different ideas. We worked, I'll use Friends of the Rappahannock very closely. They're based out of Fredericksburg, but they now have an office here in Culpeper. And they were trying to get out and they were trying to do their annual River Fest, which is a crab feast. And they do it differently this year, that they had to do it as a drive-through. And so they were trying to find folks to help deliver meals or hand out meals in Culpeper. And so they called us and said, hey, who can we use? And we had our young professionals group that they help with that. And they also help hand out trees that they do every year over at Eastern View at the sports complex. So there's just opportunities where we're able to use our other nonprofit entities, such as the young professionals or career partners, and we're able to help connect the nonprofits and the businesses with those resources.
I think that's awesome. That's awesome. So, why don't, and you and Jamie or Jamie and Cindy, you guys can like co-partner this. Just tell my listeners a little bit about SAFE.
Okay.
You might go first.
SAFE is an organization that provides services to people who have or have experienced sexual abuse or domestic violence at any point in their lives. You don't have to be doing it now. We provide individual or group counseling. We provide court accompaniment if anyone needs help with filing protective orders, custody hearings, anything like that. If they want support in court, we help with connection to job supports, housing, food insecurity, transportation, whatever it is that someone or a family might need to get from an unsafe situation to a safe situation, up to and including emergency shelter if that's needed. SAFE services this 5-county area, which is Fauquier, Culpeper, Orange, Madison, and Rappahannock. Did I say Orange? Yes. And we're the only organization that provides these type of services in this 5-county region. All the services are free to whoever needs them, and we do rely on support from grants and individuals and companies, donations, to make sure that we can help the families in every way that they need. No judgment, no questions. Everything is confidential. I mean, there are questions, but we're not judging you. And we're helping, we're going to provide this help and support. No questions asked, and without judgment and free. So, anything you want to add?
You did great.
Oh, thanks.
Be our board president. The only thing I would add is, as Jamie said, you don't have to be in the situation now. It could have been when you were a child, could have been that you're actually now just realizing that you might have been in a situation but didn't know it at the time. And you don't have to go through law enforcement. So there does not have to be a law enforcement referral or a counsel referral, your self-referral. So, but as Jamie said, you call, no questions asked, only the pertinent questions. We're not going to, it's all confidential. So we're not going to reach out to someone in the community and say, oh, Kylie just called the other day. She's having an issue.
I could be. Probably not in that one. Probably not in that manner.
But it's important to know, because we are a small community, and the small community does connect and intersect in the work that a lot of us do. But we take confidentiality seriously. So don't let the small town stop you from calling.
I want to just back up just a little bit before we do take a break. I want to think about how easy it is for somebody to say, okay, where do I start? I know I want to donate. I want to volunteer. A lot of people might know this, but some people might not. Cindy and I met, I think like now 4 years ago.
Yes.
And I'm going to speed the story up. We met at this hotel where she was managing. And we just like, I'm like, man, we knew that we needed to know each other.
Yeah.
Come to find out, we're from the same town.
Yeah.
So it led to one another. Cindy and I talked, and she like, oh my gosh, I need you on my board. Like, truly. So I'm like, I know, I need to be there. It was like, it really, God put us together for a reason.
Yeah.
And so you know that feeling when your heart goes out to your community and to the nonprofit or your cause that speaks to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what's important. That's what we're going to dive a little deeper into coming after a note from our sponsor. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about how businesses really need to connect to the nonprofit of their choice. We're going to tell you why and how important that is and how to do it. A word from our sponsors. See you back.
I'm James Steele with Farmers Insurance, Steele Insurance Agency. I'm an experienced business owner, and I know the demands that come with growing a business. From keeping up with payroll to the flexibility needed in uncertain times. Being a business owner today is more rewarding and trying than ever before. If you're looking to start or expand, let my experience serve you. From general liability to workers' comp, from audits to certificates of insurance. Please give me a call and let my team answer your questions. I have a commercial specialist, life insurance specialist, and retirement agent all standing by.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We are talking about something really super passionate, powerful, and just in the belief of giving back, businesses connecting to the nonprofits of choice. And I just said, this is my podcast. I can say whatever I want to, but if you're a business, your duty, your responsibility is to give back to the community that you're a part of the business of. It's my belief system. Globally, you should be doing that. So maybe start with Jeff. And Jeff, just talk to us about what that looks like for a business to align themselves with a nonprofit.
In Culpeper, we have, in the chamber, we have a nonprofit council that Cindy is the co-chair of, along with Andrew DiNicola from the Culpeper County Library. And we've had this conversation, and we were talking about how we could make this work. And we came up with a mentorship program. And that mentorship program connects nonprofits and small businesses. And let's say a nonprofit says, hey, I have a need, and I need to learn about social media and marketing. And then you would connect them with a small business that has a strength in social media marketing. We sent out a survey. We have a group of 12 that are already starting. And I'll let Cindy talk a little bit more about our selection process and how we went into be able to make those connections and those relationships, because there's some people that are really passionate about their nonprofits, and be able to share that passion with our small businesses, I think is really key. Cindy?
Yeah, and I had the luxury of coming from the corporate world to the nonprofit world, which gives me a little bit of a different perspective. So as Harley said, it's important to align with a nonprofit or business that you are passionate about. So on the nonprofit council, we're going to team people up with what their needs are and maybe what someone's strength is, putting them together to be able to align that, not business plan, but learning about marketing, social media, those sorts of things. The hope is that we're able to share with one another some knowledge that we take for granted in the work we do every day, right? So we have, as you said, 12 signed up right now to do this. Some are larger, some are smaller, some nonprofit, some small business. And it's important to remember that nonprofits are businesses, so they are run like businesses. I've had people say oftentimes, well, this isn't the corporate world. Well, it's still business, and we do run it that way. So really to share that information. I think what's going to be really important for some of the newer nonprofits or some of the ones that are going through some really tough times right now is, how do we fundraise? How do we find funders? How do we write for grants? Those sorts of things. So it's going to be a lot of interactive and a lot of communication back and forth.
And we hear a lot about volunteers. That's one of the questions we get a lot is, do you have any volunteers available? That people are looking, and right now in this climate, folks are not venturing out, and the older groups are not volunteering the way they were, and so it's kind of created a void. So we have a lot of folks that will call and say, we need help, and we're able to help find those connections through some of the high school programs. Where Culpeper Youth we would reach out to Jamie and say, hey, if you guys have anybody that can help out on a certain time. So again, it's just using those resources that are available and trying to find the right fits.
I think that's really super powerful. So, Cindy, would it mind, if you could do, using an example, for example, you've got the mentorship program that's coming about. So let's say that you've got, XYZ company that now needs to modify their marketing campaign. Let's just use it as an example. I think our listeners would like examples. Just plop in an example that you might be able to think of. Maybe this is a Jeff question, which is okay. Okay, your business now is in the toilets because of COVID. You need to modify, change. We're not going to use the P word. How could we use some of the nonprofits and or some of the mentors to help you out? Just give us like an example.
Sure. So let's say that you filled out on our survey that you were looking for social media marketing. We would connect you with one of the mentors of the Safe nonprofit. Oh, let's use Culpeper Youth as an example, and we're talking about social media. Who knows social media better than the younger generation right now?
Okay, good.
They know things more than I know, and I consider myself a tech head. And yet my 10-year-old can, do TikTok and video editing and things that I never even thought of she can do in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So we would show the Culpeper Youth that put on their survey that their strength is social media marketing. And we would connect them with that business. Our parameter, and it's different, I would think, for every community. I'll just use Culpeper as an example.
Sure, I love it.
So we're asking them to meet once a month, at least once a month, either on Zoom or in person, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you want to meet more, that's great. But then you would sit down and talk about those strategies and really have those conversations. And it's just kind of an open, honest discussion. And certainly there's an NDA, everybody's information is private, but it's just being able to help and be able to learn. And then maybe that nonprofit might be able to learn about leadership or budgeting or finance or something that other business has a strength in.
That is powerful. And what's important in the community aspect of it, you cannot tap into that unless you've actually done the steps to connect to the community. In the sense of, well, yes, you do need to be a member of the chamber, but here's the extra benefits. Yes, you do need to want to be able to connect to your community, but these are also the extra benefits. So you can't just have, this is me speaking, you cannot just have a business and expect your business doors to be open and people to come into your business without actually connecting to the community.
It's what you get out of what you put into
Exactly.
it. You really do. But I mean, I've been in the chamber business now. I've been the president and CEO for just about a year. I came from the newspaper industry, so I've worked in community and marketing for almost 20 years, and I've seen what it means to be able to actually make those connections and get your word out. And I know a lot of people talk about word of mouth and how great that is, but the chamber and being a part of this community is part of that, and being able to help make those connections. And you might learn about something that you've never heard of. Well, we have more than 100 nonprofits, so there's something for everybody, really. I'm sure you can say, I'm looking for somebody to help out with pets. We've got pets. I'm looking for somebody to help out with, for court assisted, with students or children. We have People Inc. and their CASA program. We talk about food distribution with Culpeper Food Closet. We have Empower Culpeper. I could spend the entire 30 minutes rattling off our roster of what we have available. And Jamie knows how we are trying to find ways to help people out. So it's just making those connections. And Culpeper is a unique place. I say that all the time. And Jamie can attest to that people are willing to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are very willing to help. And it's kind of it's awesome because there are so many resources that a lot of people aren't aware of. And so what you're saying is the chamber is this hub someone can go and be connected to, and any one of the resources in our community. But people are willing to help. They want to help out. They want to know where they can go. People are asking all the time, who can I donate this to? I want to be able to volunteer. Where should I volunteer? And it's a great way to connect people. And I think that the nonprofit council sounds like a really great opportunity for the mentorship program.
It is, and I'm just going to add that you can just go to the website to see the list of people that are chamber members. So you can search by topic. You can search by name of the company. So if you don't want to make the phone call, that's fine. You can still do that online.
And we're hearing, we're talking to our members and to our nonprofits, what they need right now, and I think Cindy kind of touched on it. They need the funding. They need creative and innovative ways to fund the greatest. They need people with smart brains. And there's nobody smarter than small business owners, because they have started from the bottom and they've made this enterprise.
Well, and small businesses have to be agile. We have to be able to keep our ears open to okay, what's working, what's not working. If you're going to be, you've got to go through 12 executives to get an answer. You're probably going to like die on the vine before you can get there. So we have to listen to those things. That is so super powerful. You guys, when we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about how it is to actually not dilute the system, but be more conducive to the system, and what that is going to do for small businesses and nonprofits all around the world. So stay tuned.
We are JG Design, the proud producers of Entrepreneurs Hangout with Kylie Dahl. We are a company that specializes in video and audio production that will elevate your business and add value to your brand. Find us at jgdesignonline.com for more information.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Okay, here comes this tough moment, which is how I decided, like, what in the world was I thinking about an episode on nonprofits and business? It's because, sorry, it's a painful moment sometimes, but as a business owner, it's your responsibility to actually align yourself with someone in your community that is a nonprofit. And so a lot of my mentees came to me and they all have good intentions, and they are beautiful, wonderful people that want to make a positive impact in this, in the world. And they say, oh, and by the way, my goal is to start a nonprofit. And I was talking to Cindy. We've talked about it a lot. And it's like, but wait, think about the impact and how much and the why and what you've got to do, and how could we not dilute the system? So I want to open it up to the panel as to why businesses should align instead of thinking they can do this on their own.
Oh, I just think it's a great way to already use those pre-existing connections that are out there. And we talked earlier today, and we were chatting about it. We used the analogy of you can be a drop in the bucket or you can be a wave. And when you're part of that wave, you're part of a force that's already coming. And so you can just really add in what your expertise is to a nonprofit. So if it's somebody that has an expertise, and I've used this all the time because for me, it's very important to social media. If there's a local business that has an expertise in social media or an expertise in marketing or digital media, especially as people are doing more YouTube videos, that you can go to a SAFE and say, what can I do? How can I help you? How can I add to what you're already have in place? The infrastructure, the SAFE has been around for years. So you already have the wheel invented. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
And that's a great point, because I'm not the expert at social media. I'm not the expert at technology. I am not even an expert at crisis intervention, but that's what I do. So as I'm doing crisis intervention, I'm not thinking about how I'm going to promote us on social media or how I'm going to promote us, do marketing. That's not my forte. So I need a person that can do that with me and for me, to align with me. So even if you can't provide financial support, that support is huge.
And I think it's very important when we have this conversation that there are lots of well-meaning people out there who think that they want to start a nonprofit or they want to meet a community need. But if you're in a community such as ours, Culpeper, where there are, like Jeff said, well, over 100 nonprofits that are members of the chamber, and then there's some, I'm sure, that are not members of the chamber. And then they need funding and they're asking people for funding. They're all going to the same community for that. Then it ends up diluting the amount that the nonprofits get. So collaboration and working together, identifying who's already doing what it is that you're passionate about, and going to them and helping to support the cause.
Yeah.
Cindy, just coming from a corporate world, it's like And Jeff, maybe this is a Jeff and Cindy together question because you're surrounded by businesses. It's like a business has good intentions and they know they need to connect and align with it. Perhaps just touch base on how do they find that alignment, okay? And then is there, and this is on a small business question level, which is, I know you have good intentions to say you want to start a nonprofit. There are benefits to doing that, but from a business perspective as to how can you align yourself to say, I don't need to dilute. Let me just find somebody that's already doing what my passion is. Again, I'll use the diaper drive, or dogs need more food, or safe. Mm-hmm. But how can you then find those businesses to say, oh, wait, I can't reinvent the wheel. They already do what I do.
I mean, my thing is always call the chamber. Ask us. If they're not a member, we know who they are and what they are doing in the community already. And we're able to help make those connections and let you know what's out there. I mean, that's our whole structure, is to let folks know what is going on in Culpeper, what is available here, what is Cindy doing at SAFE, what is Jamie doing with Culpeper Youth, what other nonprofits are available. And we don't want to dilute that passion, right? We've talked about that. We want people to be passionate, but we want to be able to focus that. And we want folks to be able to take that and help out our community. And if there's multiple entities already doing what they have an idea for, it's my role, and our events coordinator, Amy Frazier, she's great at this as well, just knowing what's out there and be able to help connect those businesses with the nonprofits.
I mean, a good example of that would be Grassroots,
right?
Supplying food to SAFE throughout the last year during the COVID, and it's ongoing, but during the COVID crisis, making sure that the shelter and the staff had enough food for the residents. And an example would be if Grassroots said, I think that we should feed people. I want to start a nonprofit that feeds people. That would have been an option. Right. But what he did instead was he found an organization, SAFE, in the community that was already working with families, working with people, trying to improve resilience in the community, and partnered with that organization to provide food to the shelter and to the staff. So instead of reinventing the wheel and diluting and taking away from SAFE, he instead empowered SAFE and strengthened SAFE and allowed SAFE to be able to do what they do even better with the support in that business nonprofit partnership.
And we encountered that a lot, especially early on in COVID. We had the Country Club of Culpeper donate almost 1,000 meals to the Culpeper County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association, to other emergency services in the community, our first responders, our healthcare providers. They worked with that Old Country store. We had numerous members calling us and asking us, how can we help? And we were the hub for that. We coordinated that. We made those connections happen. We helped donate toilet paper to the Salvation Army and the Food Closet. And the Culpeper Young Professionals were able to donate about $2,000 to the Food Closet this year, which we were extremely pleased with in the middle of a pandemic. So it's just finding those resources and then being able to pull them all together.
I love it. Jamie, your analogy was absolutely super brilliant, right? Spot on about trying to get that the idea out there, which is using Grassroots was a brilliant analogy, which, okay, I'm in the restaurant business. Food is my deal. I want to be able to feed people. And with that thought of like, surely I need to start a nonprofit. No, not really. First of all, they're super busy. They have no clue as to like, oh my gosh, the steps that
grant writing.
Yes.
Right.
Small businesses who don't usually have to write grants have had to learn how to write grants this past year because of COVID, and that's how we function.
Absolutely. 100%
that's not something I think he would want to do.
No.
And my job is only to like approve them. And it's like, I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine and what you have to do. But that's the whole point. That would be so overwhelming for a small business. You don't have to do it. Just connect with your why. Connect and align with what what's in line with your values.
And when you do that, do it at budget season. Because
That's a good one, Cindy. Let's talk about it.
So you asked me from the corporate sector. So I had a why, and I knew that I was going to give to that why from the business that I worked for. So when I did budgets, at that budget time, I wrote those dollars in that I wanted to make sure I was giving to a nonprofit. So it can be planned. And again, back to small business, they know how to do that better than anyone. But write it into your budget so that it's there. We didn't get to do that with COVID, but that's what I did every year. So every year, the nonprofit of my choice that knew that hotel that I worked at was going to give to them, they knew to come and ask me. And I wanted them to come and ask me. I expected them to. I said, I'm making this a line item every year. Come this time, you'll have that money. Mm-hmm. So plan for it. It's important to plan for it. But that was my why. I had probably throughout the year, easily over 100 people come through the front door asking me for donations. And the reality was, I said, you know what? Really appreciate your cause. Would love to help you. However, I'm aligned with this cause. This is what I do. This is my commitment to them. Unfortunately, I can't do that for you this year. It's a hard thing to have to say to somebody, but when you plan for it, you can do that.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Jamie and I, we had a conversation a little bit about that, as in, and just wrapping it up, Jamie, just talk a little bit about like what we said, the independent and the individual budget as to just your budget.
Yeah. So and this is not just for small businesses, it's for individuals too. And as we as individuals, when we're paying our bills and writing out our budgets, we understand that we can't give to every single nonprofit that we want to give. Or if we do, it's a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And so as an individual, at least I know that I would like to be able to give a bigger sum to my why, to SAFE, to the nonprofit about which I'm very passionate. So that amount of money I can give to SAFE will go a lot farther than if I gave a little bit here, 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 here. And so nonprofits, an individual or business who's thinking about starting a nonprofit, just being aware of that. If you being aware that you as a person already know you can't give to so many nonprofits, then if you're going to jump in the wheel and expect people to give you money when there's 100 plus other nonprofits out there, is kind of an unrealistic expectation that, the rules will change for me. I'll be able to raise all this money in a community where there's already such impactful nonprofits. Kind of putting, if your why is really to help that mission and the community, your time is better spent collaborating and aligning with, so that you can increase the impact of the donations that nonprofit gets, instead of ultimately taking away from the very thing that you're trying to help. And so just keeping that in mind, the same thing you would do with your own budget, be mindful that if you think, if I'm going to start a nonprofit, I'm going to have to ask people for money, that they won't be able to give it to you all the time.
That's right.
So
Jeff?
I echo exactly what Jamie said. I mean, it's budgeting, it's being prepared. And one of the things, especially I've learned in this community, don't be afraid to ask. The worst thing they're going to say is no, but you might be building that relationship for the future. And so then they get to know you and they get to see how passionate you are about that cause. I think that makes a big difference.
Jeff, I think that's huge too for nonprofit businesses to hear that again. So be passionate about your why, talk about it as many times and to as many people as you can.
Right.
That's how you get the word out. That's how you help. Right. So, and then, SAFE does a list of things. You may not know what they are. So even if you don't know for sure if a nonprofit business does what you're looking for, ask the question, because it might be something really simple to add to what we do.
Just don't assume that it's not being done.
Yeah.
Just because you don't know about it.
But also it's about, I was just going to add on the following ending note. I don't know, for example, if I don't know it, if you don't know it, Cindy, I'm going to ask you, hey, do you know something? I mean, we have talked about this kind of, but if I don't know, hey, my gosh, I'm going to say, we need to have somebody that does t-shirts and for nonprofits. I'm just using this as an example, but you do know because everybody's connections are different. So if you need something, then shout out, man. Let us help you find the right connection, the right person to help you align with that right job, that right why.
Mhm.
So absolutely. Such an important topic. Everyone, you guys are going to have Jeff's, Cindy's, Jamie's information. You're going to be able to know how to reach out, how to connect, how to ask. And if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, I hope that we've opened up the doors as to what that looks like for you and how you might want to think about aligning yourself first. Thank you so much. And from downtown Culpeper, a big shout out to Grassroots, our favorite restaurants, awesome cocktails, fabulous local cuisine, and you just got to come down and see us on Davis Street. Thanks, you guys. Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. And just remember, I can't do this without you. I need you to like, love, subscribe, and share. So if you like this podcast, please give me a thumbs up. Help me out. Share it with your buddies because they need to hear about us. Bye.